I'm watching Beatemups. Much love and respect for this gentleman right here. And RGT85. And Wolf Den. Bob. No, but I already put my pre-order for this, so I believe, don't quote me, I think it's April 7th or April 8th. Because I was like, why not pre-order it? Why not? Why not?
Dance Wars Games received universal acclaim back in the day for its ingenious design of being both super in-depth but also instantly accessible, and it's very often featured as inspiration for newer tactics games released to this day. Mario and Rabbids Sparks of Hope is a turn-based tactics 2022, man. Just the year of tactics games. Actually, Mario and Rabbids, the first one, was a strictly turn-based tactics game, and it was fantastic. But this new one, it does look like they are trying something pretty different. It's still listed as a strategy game, but in the trailers, you can see characters running freely around a set limited area. Maybe it's still turn-based, but you have more freedom in how you act each turn. Either way, I loved the visual story and gameplay from the first title, so this should be great too.
See, I tried playing the first one. I couldn't get into it. I don't know. I'm sure it's just me.
Survive is a say it with me now, everyone. Turn-based tactic strategy game. Good job, everyone. But this game features survival elements. It's aimed at an older audience with its dark undertones and different paths through the game where wrong choices can get characters. All right. Let's take a break from the tactics games for a second and instead talk about, I don't know, Metal Slug Tactics. Developers.emu have been doing
really
great
cool.
work for years and seemingly struck gold when they made Streets of Rage 4. They managed to create a fantastic and successful new game in a beloved retro series, and from there, they were just handed the keys to a few other old-school franchises, all three of which launch on Switch this year. First, a new title in the Metal Slug franchise with this tactics spin-off. They're not developing this one, they're publishing it. But the developers they got for it have managed to nail the beautifully animated pixel art style the series was known for. Then, you have TMT Shredder's Revenge. Again, this time .emu is just publishing, but the developers are actually ex-Ubisoft employees who worked on the Scott Pilgrim beat-em-up game, which is my favorite beat-em-up game of all time. And finally, .emu themselves are developing and publishing a new sequel to Neo Geo's 1994 game Windjammers. I do actually think that's all the tactics games. So we'll move on to something completely different. A game that I already kind of mentioned in the video. Fall Guys. Is anyone still waiting for this to come to Switch? I mean, who's still playing Fall Guys? I really mean no offense here. It's just the same thing with Genshin Impact. The game is great. I just feel like you missed the boat a little bit, I feel like. Tomb Raider is finally launching on the Switch. No, it's not the new rebooted franchise they have going. That would be cool. It's not even the original PlayStation 1 trilogy. No, it's Lara Croft and the Guardian of Light, as well as its sequel, Lara Croft and the Temple of Osiris. Yes, I had to read those. I didn't know what they were. They're very arcadey games, played from a top-down isometric view, like the Diablo series.
Oh, that looks cool. Oh, that looks cool.
Tomb Raider
I love Diablo.
Okay, let's just knock out the other two cloud-based games coming this year for Switch. First, we have Kingdom Hearts, like all of it. We're talking 10 freaking Kingdom Hearts games. You'll be able to buy it all in one go by grabbing the Integrum Masterpiece Collection. Remember...
Well, no, so I do love this because, like, some people, there's so much going on in so many different fields. It's like, it's hard to keep up. So I'm grateful, like, I can come back to these games and now they're, like, really polished and done well. No, I greatly appreciate that. I look forward to the day when you can just have, like, a PS4 or whatever, a Switch, and just have, like, from the beginning games from when I was a kid to, you know, anything that's made in the future. I mean, that would be cool.
Being streamed, though. Then we have Plague Tale Requiem, a sequel to Plague Tale, which is also streaming on the Switch currently. And look, I love the first game immensely. It is severely underrated, and I encourage you all to play it any way you can. But for me, I am 1000% playing the sequel on my Xbox Series X, just like I did with the original. The stunning, crisp visuals and thrilling gameplay just needs to be appreciated the right way. It's just not the same experience at all.
Well, can you play it on the PS4, sir? Can you play it on the PS4, sir?
I thought that that Lord of the Rings Gollum would be streamed when I saw it was announced to be coming to the Switch, but apparently they're aiming to have it play locally, which is really cool. It's an action-adventure game, obviously set in the Lord of the Rings universe, but following the character of Smeagol before the events of The Hobbit. And that's really all we know about the game so far. Time for a
that
big
does
one.
look kind of cool, though.
If anyone else ever leans into you like that and says, time for a big one, run. Get away. But when I do it, stick around, because it's Splatoon 3, baby!
What?
It launches this year, and I'm very excited for
I haven't played any of them, so I'm going to start with the third one.
It was all about the multiplayer action. Splatoon 2, it introduced a solo mode, but it was more focused, again, on refining the multiplayer and perfecting it, and it did. It was great. Splatoon 3 looks to be the best of both worlds, with a heavy emphasis on the single-player post-apocalyptic world, and I am hoping is as story-driven as it seems, and I'm really excited for this to be the definitive and most content-packed Splatoon yet. For the sake of time, I'm gonna do a sizzle reel really quick for a bunch of indies that I am, and you should be, very excited for. Card Shark is a roguelike card-based game with real card manipulation techniques. Neon White actually looks really cool. It's a fast-paced first-person action platformer, but it also uses a card-based system for your attacks. Oxenfree 2 is set 5 years after the events of the first game, and if you haven't played the first game, do it. It's created by Adam Hines, who worked on The Wolf Among Us, and is influenced by stories like Stand By Me. Bear and Breakfast is a laid-back management adventure where you play as a bear trying to run a B&B, and what more do you need to know? I've never played Pillars of Eternity, but the sequel is coming to Switch this year, and to me, it looks like Diablo, but when I say that, people tend to get really upset, so I don't say that. Outer Wilds, not to be confused with Outer Worlds, is an open-world mystery about a solar system trapped in an endless time loop. And finally, in our sizzle reel, Sports Story. The long-awaited sequel to Golf Story, featuring dungeons, espionage, mini-games, buried treasure, and they swear golf is actually in there somewhere around all the
Oh, that looks so awesome.
Breath of the Wild is an open-world platform game and the first of its kind for the Sonic franchise. You explore the world of Starfall Islands. The developers and the writers of the game have said that the game's open-world design can be compared to Breath of the Wild. But that said, I hope they have a lot in place to separate this game from just being a Sonic skin swap Breath of the Wild mod, although that does sound pretty fun. Temtem takes the idea of Pokemon and, well, just kind of does it again. It's Pokemon, but it throws it into an MMORPG setting. It's been in early access for a long time. Last I played it, it had a long way to go as a concept. It's been a long time since then, though, and the full release is set for this year, and I will absolutely be giving it another chance. Okay, so Lego Star Wars The Skywalkers Saga. It's a complete remake of the prequel and original trilogy games that they had already made, as well as the Force Awakens game. This is where I get a little confused. I don't think they're remaking that because it literally just released, but they never made Last Jedi and Rise of Skywalker, so I'm assuming that there'll be two new games in here, as well as the last game and then remakes of 6 other games. This sounds really cool, honestly. Bomb Rush Cyberpunk is a spiritual successor to Jet Set Radio. Dance, paint, trick, and face off with the cops in this stylish adventure game filled with a great futuristic soundtrack.
That does look really awesome.
How Blizzard is handling Overwatch 2 is kind of confusing. I think I get it. I mean, essentially, there is a full sequel coming, which will be sold separately with all new heroes, maps, and competitive game modes, but all of that will also exist within the original game, so it's more of a massive DLC patch. Like, you have to pay for it, but if you have the original game, it just kind of like smushes into it. That said, the Switch version will also come along for that updated ride some point this year. I made a lot of these videos, right? You might have seen them here or there, me talking about upcoming Switch games. But what you might not have noticed is at the tail end of almost all of them for the last 5 or 6 years of doing them, I've had to, like, out of obligation, put certain games at the end because, like, if I don't talk about them, it's kind of weird that I didn't, but we have no idea when they're coming out, but it should be soon, right? This is the first time I can finally talk about games like Bayonetta 3 and actually have a release date. Well, kind of a release year. Bayonetta 3 releases this year, 2022, and that feels so good to finally say. It's the bewitching 3rd installment in the Bayonetta series, and I adore these games so much for their over-the-top hack-and-slash action, crazy character and enemy designs, and all-around vibes of Bayonetta dancing her way through hordes of demons. What does someone even say about Breath of the Wild 2? This is why this year is going to be so huge. Bayonetta, Splatoon 3, Pokemon, and now the still unofficially named Breath of the Wild 2. We know it features new floating sky islands that Link can drip up to. We see that he can now reverse time as well as freeze it. What happened to Link's arm? Is the floating platforms and skydiving Link something that's reminiscent of Skyward Sword, or is the darker tones more reminiscent of Majora's Mask? Are we going back to the same Hyrule as the first game? I have too many questions. I can't wait to play this game. And when it releases, if you don't see a video from me for a month, don't have to check on me. You know what I'm doing. All right.
Dude, I'm horrible. I still have to play like...
They're all curveballs. So I had no idea this was a thing. Looking on Wikipedia for upcoming Switch games, making sure I didn't miss anything, I see this. Apparently, just weeks after the film release, the Pokemon Company themselves announced in a press conference that Detective Pikachu 2 was being developed for Switch. Now, we've heard nothing about this since, and shortly after the movie release,
dude, the movie was so good.
This planned sequel to the movie because they thought that the movie underperformed, even though it is the second highest grossing video game movie adaptation of all time. So I don't know what they were expecting the movie to do. The fact that they scrapped the movie, I mean, it could mean that they scrapped the game as well. That doesn't change the fact that at some point, Detective Pikachu 2 was in development for Switch. I just thought that was more of a fun fact than anything. Yeah, I talk about those games I'm obligated each video, and along with the ride, along with Bayonetta, along with Breath of the Wild 2, there's always been, of course, Metroid Prime 4. And sadly, we can't cross that off the coming this year list yet. But at the very least, the silver lining here is that it is the last big game we have to speculate, as the next big Nintendo games might end up being on the next generation Nintendo console. I really feel like it'll be next year as a way to round out the Switch's life. But one exciting thing from this year is I bet we'll see gameplay. That's honestly a pretty solid prediction I have. Okay, sure. I know what I literally just said, but let me go back on that with Mario Kart 9. If you're wondering why I'm even talking about it, it's because there have been a ton of strong rumors that this game is currently in development. But I don't think it takes a brainiac to figure out that, yeah, more than likely. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is the best-selling Switch game to date, and yet it's a Wii U port. The Switch has still not seen its own Mario Kart game. I could see this game
No, that says a lot. That says a lot. That's a really great thing about what's been made.
Probably before Metroid Prime 4 drops, I would say around fall, kind of like what Metroid Dread just did last fall. Those two games would be just a bittersweet wind down to the Switch's lifespan. And yeah, I don't know if you noticed, but we really are at that point. I think in 2024, we're going to see the new console coming around. So if you think about it, there's nothing else left. Nintendo would have done all of its big IPs for Switch at that point. Maybe squeezing out a Mario Odyssey 2 to wrap it up. But I think what would make more sense is if the new Switch released in 2024 with Mario Odyssey 2 on launch day. Probably even on Switch and on the new console, replicating what Breath of the Wild did for the Switch on its launch with the Wii U. I don't want to get into a whole tangent about it. It just lines up far too perfectly. And that's the video. It really is at that point. This might be even the last upcoming games video I make for the Switch. Maybe. Nah, I'll do one the start of next year. If this video helped you in some way, like it, but also share it. Get it out there with the world. The other people
I agree with you, sir. I agree with you. Thank you. I appreciate you.
Bye.
Oh, I'm sorry, I missed it.
What is that?
All right. I'm done for today, dude. I'm done for today. I love you.